My name is Brendan Hall. I am from the United States, and I've been selected as a crew member for DearMoon.
Brendan Hall. Was that Joshua Tree?
I'm a documentary filmmaker. I travel around the world telling stories about the ways that people connect with nature.
Like National Geographic?
I started making films when I was 12 in my backyard. It gave me a reason to look at the world around me in a different way. All the way through high school and into college, I spent years teaching myself how to direct, how to do cinematography,
Sick, yeah.
how to edit. That passion actually turned into a career. Basically, my job is to walk in people's shoes and be there for moments that are transforming them in these just magical places. Then get to bring those stories back and share them with others. When I saw the call for DearMoon, I didn't think in a million years I would actually be selected for this. Some of the most important nights of my life were spent trying to capture the wonder of the night sky. I never even dreamed of actually going up there.
Wow.
When I was selected for DearMoon, it was just this validation that all these years of work and passion were worth it. I've always tried to push myself outside my comfort zone and take on opportunities that really scare me. There's a lot of risk in this. Definitely nervous, but I'm so honored to be selected for the opportunity and want to make the most of that selection. I've always been behind the camera. I've always been following people doing really interesting things. But I'm also a crew member. I'm there to experience it. I'm there to be a part of it. I want to help give the world an inside perspective on this mission. I hope that the way we can capture this process and the way that I can make films in this environment is innovating on the legacy of filmmaking in outer space that has been so beautifully imprinted in our minds and in our culture. I also can't wait to see what sorts of technologies we can apply to tell our crew's story in a way that's never quite been done before. It took a lot of incredible luck and people supporting me to do the work I'm doing today, and it motivates me to keep going and make something of this. So I think for anybody watching this, just know that you are worth that dream you have. You're worth that project that you want to make. Even if it seems really far out of sight now, you just never know what's going to happen. As I've traveled, coming back home always feels so much richer. I hope to come back a better steward and a better caretaker of the planet. And perhaps that this story and these stories that we're all telling can do that for people too.
That's cool. That is cool. So, the first civilian mission to the moon is planned to take place in 2023. Yeah, we are already past 2023. The rocket developed by Elon Musk's SpaceX will make a week-long journey to the moon and back. In 2018, Japanese entrepreneur Yusaku Maezawa purchased all the seats aboard the rocket, wishing to give as many talented individuals as possible the opportunity to go. He announced in March 2021 his plans to choose 8 crew members from across the world. It's not just America, across the world. That's cool. But I'm pretty sure we need to send astronauts first before we send actual people. So Steve Aoki is going. It looks like a K-pop singer is going. I thought BTS would be going, but I don't. Aren't they in the military? Is BTS in the military right now, guys? This space YouTuber is going. The SpaceX. This lady from Ireland, Yemi AD, Karim. I don't know. Was that Canada? No. Interesting. Cool, cool. That is so cool. Well, they need to get like the fire test for the Starship, I believe, working and make it reusable before they send them. Like we have yet to send a Starship to orbit. So, we first need to get that Starship to orbit. Like we've tried so many times and they failed. So, the SpaceX has tried so many times and they failed. So, hopefully they can make it this year. I heard earlier that I think they're only going to make 5 more tests for Starship to go to orbit. Like 5 more tests or something in this year. Or that was just like rapid fire tests. Just literally rapid fire tests, like the rocket putting out the engine. I think they said only 5 of those this year. So it looks like we might go to the moon end of the decade if things go well. End of the decade. And then we're gonna have to send astronauts there and then people there. So DearMoon might be a decade away, guys. DearMoon might be like 5 to 8 years. I give it 8 years probably. Yeah. Yeah, because unless there's a lot of innovation between like in like year 5 or something. But yeah, in the next 2 years, probably not. hmm Let's see.
It so happens that you've been selected for the DearMoon mission that will fly Starship once around the moon with 9 people on board. You are one of those people. So just pause to take that in.
That's crazy.
Everything that we've been talking about, you will not just be reporting on, you will be a part of it. So tell me about the objective of this mission and how does it feel to be a part of it?
Well, man,
Yeah.
it's basically it's the Willy Wonka of space. Like a generous,
Yeah.
a generous individual purchased a ride from SpaceX as early, at least as far as I know, the earliest I knew about it was February 27th, 2017.
Who's the individual?
Yusaku Maezawa, but at the time, I'm telling a story. At the time, we didn't know.
Okay, great. Great.
So February 27th, 2017, a press release comes out from SpaceX saying someone purchased a ride through us around the moon. We're going to fly someone around the moon. And at the time, it was on a Crew Dragon capsule and a Falcon Heavy. It's like, wow. And that was enough. That little moment right there, that press release. It's the first time I'm like, I'm going to make a YouTube video about this. I stood up, turned on my camera, put on my, at the time, spacesuit, and I basically yelled at the camera for 3 minutes about someone's going around the moon. You know,
That's crazy.
fast forward to 2018, end of 2018 or near the end, they introduced. There was a SpaceX press conference. I'm there as a member of the press. I'm reporting on. We're going to meet this person that's going around the moon, and come to find out, boom, they're going to be riding on Starship now. They changed from Falcon Heavy and Dragon. SpaceX is no longer going to do that. They're going to upgrade them basically to Starship. So instead of being in like a small tin can, they're in this giant, luxurious, mega rocket around the moon. And it comes out that this individual named Yusaku Maezawa, who is a Japanese billionaire, purchased this ride. And instead of
That's crazy.
inviting, his friends and, colleagues and whatever, whoever, his family members or whatever, he decided the most impactful thing he could do with this opportunity is invite more or less artists. In the original thing, it was like artists, journalists, a painter, an athlete, photographer, videographer, all walks of life, basically.
When they said athlete, they thought of you.
They're like, I know a guy. This guy rode ragman once. And at the time, it was like, this is crazy. I can't believe this is going to happen. And, he had this vision of, we're going to find people from all around the world. I'm going to invite people from all around the world, from different walks of life, different, trades. and I'm going to share this experience so that they can share it with the world and really have an impact much greater than, any one country or any one individual or any, set of military trained, astronauts could do. Offer up a new perspective. Beautiful. I mean, at the press conference, I cried. Like, I had a couple tears in my eyes. I was like, this is so cool.
We could just pause on that. So you
That's
goes
how
by-
long has it been since humanity has been to the moon? Since the 60s, right? 70s? That's like 50 plus years. Half a century, guys. Half a century.
MZ, yep.
How incredible is that?
It's
I think it's you often don't realize the importance of individuals in human history. Like they define, because this could be, we talked about the importance of Elon in particular. Most of the work is done by large groups of people that are collective intelligence that we band together. But like these individuals can be the spark of the catalyst of that progress. And I mean, just this idea of getting not just civilians, which is already incredible, but civilians with a sort of an artistic flame that burns inside them. They're able to communicate. Whatever they do, are able to communicate something about that experience. And it's just a genius idea to spend quite probably a very large amount of money for that. I mean, and that will be part of history.
Yeah, and it's easy these days for people to be cynical, especially about like space flight and wealthy individuals. But really, in my
Especially
opinion,
with climate change, the economy going down.
Just the time I was just so couldn't believe
Shrinkflation,
this idea.
inflation.
I'm someone that has studied a lot about the Apollo program, the people that have been to the moon, and they're incredible individuals, but they're so saturated with tasks, and they're military trained and often that they didn't really have the luxury of just being able to soak in the experience of going around or to the moon.
That's crazy.
And seeing the moon up close with your own eyes. Like, that just psychologically.
Okay, one moment. Are you sick? No. Bathroom.
To be insane. And so to have this opportunity to be able to observe our closest celestial neighbor with your own eyes, and your sole purpose is to soak it in and share it and communicate and create with the rest of our planet, like that to me is just beautiful.
So that is the objective of the mission.
That right there is the objective of the mission.
And how does it feel to be selected as one of the 9 to do it?
It's a gradient. It's doing a few things. Since I've known, it's become. I think the closer it gets, the more excited and the more nervous I get.
The more real it becomes.
The more real it becomes. The announcement was a big. It just got announced at the end of 2022 publicly. Who's involved, and so, prior to that, like I had,
Steve
each
Aoki,
step of the
that's
selection
insane.
process. There's a pretty comprehensive selection process with interviews and stuff. Each step, I'd try not to get my hopes up. And frankly, like this, let me be clear, this was not something that like I've always wanted to do. It's not like I'm out there. I didn't start doing YouTube videos because I wanted to even go to space. Like none of that. I've said hilariously, I've probably said dozens or hundreds of times on air, like, yeah, I don't ever want to go to space because it's not like it's not a driving force. It's not really a thing I even really truly pictured or let myself fantasize about, frankly.
That's crazy.
So each step of the selection process, I didn't really let myself dream about it too much, or but it would kind of chip away, like, oh my God, this is actually becoming more real. This is actually more and more of an opportunity, and I get equally more nervous too. Like, frankly, I've seen spaceflight stuff go wrong. I think about this stuff a lot. So like, yeah, I get more nervous, but I also get more excited about that opportunity. Like, it's an opportunity that how can you pass? And I still have to actually stop, pause, think, and actually realize the reality that that I am going to the moon. I'm going to see the moon
Yeah,
up close.
2028.
Flying around the moon. I'm sorry, some people get mad when I say going to the moon since I'm not landing on it. But flying around the moon, seeing the far side of the moon with my own eyes,
And seeing Earth.
and seeing the Earth rise behind it. Yeah, it's going to. I can't tell you
Yeah.
what it's going to be like and feel like.
So epic.
But it's insane to me that like we're having this conversation and that is my reality, you know, like, and that someone was generous enough to consider the option of sharing this with frankly strangers.
Yeah.
And the process that they had for selecting, like how much thought and time went into the selection process is incredible. You know, they did a public call at the beginning of 2021, and so the team's involved in whittling it down from 1 million applicants. There's 1 million applicants that whittled it, and they got it down to 8 crew members and 2 backups.
Yeah.
Amazing people. I would have, you know, I don't know how they wound up where they did, but it's incredible. I feel a very deep connection to everyone that's already involved. And
What can you say about the crew? You've gotten a chance to meet them and talk to them, and Steve Aoki is on the crew. Like, who else is there? So you are obviously the star athlete on the team. Who else, in terms of the artists that are there?
so, oh man, we might just want to pull up just so I don't totally butcher and forget anybody. But because so far I haven't actually had the chance to meet everyone in person. You know, so far a lot of this was done during the pandemic, but we've met through a couple different things. We've had a couple different times to get together. But so far I've not met
That's
Steve
weird.
Aoki yet or
How do you
Top.
know?
We've been on calls and stuff. I also have not yet met Dev Joshi, who is an actor from India. So yeah, we can Steve Aoki, American DJ and producer and musician. Top from South Korea is also a musician and a producer.
So it's all across the world. It's like truly global. All different kinds of walks of life.
Yes.
All artists of different forms.
And Steve is Japanese. His parents are Japanese, but he born and raised in the United States. Yemi is a dancer and choreographer from the Czech Republic. Rhiannon is a fine art photographer from, well, England and Ireland. I guess she lives in both and kind of a bit of a, she's all over the place. Technically, she's Irish, I guess. Tim Dodd, yep, that's me, from the United States. Then you have Kareem, who is from England and also is a photographer and documentarian. Does a lot of work with oceanography and volcanoes. So he does really incredible work. Brendan Hall is a documentarian and filmmaker. Dev Joshi, Brendan is also from the United States. Dev Joshi is an Indian actor. I believe he's also already been producing and things. He's very young. I think he's only like 19 or 20, and he's been acting since he was like 5 years old or something. He's a Bollywood star. Like he is a star in India, which is really cool.
Right.
Caitlin Farrington from the United States is an Olympic gold medalist snowboarder. So she, believe it or not, is the athlete and not me. Professional astronaut, you know, when they talked about it in 2018, there's talks of we'll have a professional astronaut on board. But realistically now, like MZ is a trained astronaut, you know.
Before montage or... So
I hope it just gets shredded. I hope it's physical, a lot of physical training.
And they're like, we didn't tell him to do that. He just seems to want to film himself shirtless in the snow. Doesn't make any... How is this...
Oh, yeah.
With space travel.
Oh, it'll become mundane and boring at some point.
The tough thing about space travel, of course...
every student in the United States tune in to, you know, tragedy. But that's something I'm pushing for really hard just because I think it could be magical. And that likely is the reality. There will likely be a dozen or 2 or 3 launches because just even to get to the moon on Starship, they have to refuel it in orbit. So it will get to Earth orbit basically empty and out of fuel. So I'll have to dock with a fuel depot, fill up, and then go to the moon. So just to even get that full, you know, we're already talking about, you know, a handful of launches. So there will be a lot of launches before we fly.
Would they do a test flight without humans on board that goes to the moon or no?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they'll do that exact flight profile, but by then they will have already flown, most likely the Artemis 3 program will have flown a Starship variant to the moon that lands on the moon. So doing at that point, you're pretty much. I would like them to test the heat shield at that entry velocity though, because it is, it takes another. It's about 30% faster to get like to go 30% faster. Going to smash into this thing at 100. My girlfriend, my friends. Obviously I don't.
I don't know if that's gonna make him feel better.
and statistically convinced that this is relatively safe. Again in the 99% safe. Yeah. Again, there's things that people do every day that are less safe than this.
Like you riding the motorcycle.
Again, yeah, riding a motorcycle, doing wheelies at over 100 mile an hour. Not
you
the
did
smartest.
wheelies over 100. What? How? All right.
I'm not a smart guy always. Okay.
Well,
Formation flying in the fighter jets was likely a more dangerous thing.
Yes.
Than what I'll be doing in spaceflight.
That's cool. That's cool.